As you guys remember from my most recent channel update, I moved back with my parents after living alone for 3 months. And the initial reason I moved out was that, well, I just don't have a very good relationship with my family. I guess I just wanted to escape, and by moving out I could show them that I'm willing and able to take care of myself without their help. And also, I want to reach success in this unconventional way of filmmaking and YouTube, which no one in my family supports. So I moved out. And one interesting thing happened. Both my grandpa and my mom cried when I was leaving. Now, my mom is pretty emotional and cries often in more emotionally demanding life situations, but what I didn't expect is for my grandpa to cry. I've never seen him do that, and so this taught me a few things. Even though my mom is emotional, so I'm used to seeing her cry over things, and my grandpa doesn't cry at all since they both cried, that shows me that they care, and I realized, thinking about this often, that they just don't know how to show it. That's the problem with my family, and it's kind of complicated to explain, but I learned how to not act from them more than I learned how to act properly from them, if that makes sense. Believe it or not, this whole moving out phase was actually a good thing. When I was living alone, I started to see my family more when I would come over and visit for some reason, and I would spend the time talking as we didn't see each other every single day, and so my parents started to be nicer to me and vice versa. Another reason for why we would get along better was that when I moved out, I did accomplish the mentioned independence reason. My parents respected me more as I proved to them that yes, in fact, I am capable of taking care of myself. So what drove me to move back in? Well, during this time I discovered this channel called Think Before You Sleep, which is a channel that focuses on the MGTOW movement and also reading people's, more often women's, behaviors. MGTOW, if any of you don't know what that is men going their own way, and it's about guys who are anti-feminist and choose to separate themselves from dating, marriage, and overall sexual association with women. So basically, it's an extreme version of NoFap in terms of separation from real-life women as opposed to virtual women. Now, am I part of the MGTOW movement? No. I believe this problem is more in the West than here in Europe, where I live, and it's not that bad here, but of course that can change in the future. I believe in many of the ideas that the MGTOW community presents, but I am not a part of it, or at least not a part of which separates themselves from women. I more so watch Think Before You Sleep because the guy who runs it seems very relatable, as he's for self-improvement, but also I find very much value in what he teaches when it comes to reading people and noticing behaviors. One thing that he said that actually changed the way I look at my relationship with my family is you have to bring value to the relationship. Now, this might seem like a no-brainer, but for me, it gave me a new perspective and a more deeper understanding of relationships.
One of the major things that has been taken away from us culturally through various propaganda outlets is the ability to be desirable to other people. People have all of these toxic relationships and toxic friendships because they're only focused on what they are getting out of the relationship rather than being the type of person who someone would want to have in their life. They are missing half of the equation, and that actually has a negative effect on their psychology. The reality is that it feels kind of good to help people or do things for them, especially when they are doing something for you. Personally, I think that reciprocity is a biological impulse. Relationships where each person isn't giving back to the other person tend to toxify and fail. We are made to feel bad when we aren't returning favors, and we are made to feel bad when we aren't paying it forward by initiating favors. At the very least, people who aren't willing to pay it forward or reciprocate tend to be unhappy people.
When it comes to my relationship with my family, of course, we often fought with each other and disagreed, and that is more because I didn't bring much value to the family. Whenever my parents asked me growing up in my teenage years to do some task like vacuum the house or cut the grass, I would always either complain to them or complain to myself, and in turn later on take it out on the parents. Funny, since I should have been grateful for the housing and the free food I got and still get from them. I would usually do the task, but still that took a toll on our relationship. Of course, it probably goes deeper, and that is not the only reason for why my relationship with my parents didn't work. After watching Think Before You Sleep for some time and then going into the teachings of Jordan Peterson, I combined the two lessons. Bring value to the relationship from Think Before You Sleep and to take responsibility from Jordan Peterson. When I decided to move back in, I started to bring value by doing chores around the house that nobody would want to do. I started washing dishes and vacuuming, and even helped my grandpa to load logs into trucks so we could have some firewood. The most important thing here is that I did it without being told and showed initiative. The tasks that I did and now do probably don't seem that to be a big of a deal to you, many of you, but believe me, it did wonders.
Who's gonna carry the boats and the logs?
We weren't passive aggressive with each other anymore, and my mom even pointed out that I seemed different. I brought some value, and that resulted in me having a better relationship with my family. Now, where does Jordan Peterson fit in? For any of you who struggle to build good or at least decent relationships with your parents or family, you have to take on the responsibility to do it. Your parents are old and they most likely won't agree to self-improve unless they decide to do it by themselves, and so you have to do it. Yes, this means shoving your ego to the side for a bit and forcefully being nice in some situations, but that is what it takes to build and maintain relationships. And one more thing, let's talk about how NoFap also played a role in this. If you guys follow me on Instagram, and if you don't, you definitely should, you may notice that I have a daily counter in my bio of what day of NoFap I am on. When you're watching this video, it's probably close to 60 days, and how did I all of a sudden go on such a high streak and actually am close to beating my NoFap record of 56 days after 1 year of trying to get to 90 days? Well, when I was living alone for those 3 months, I was really anxious. I was sad all the time, and for a while I shrugged it off as just me thinking about choosing to go on this filmmaking path and not making it, which does bring some part of my anxiety for me. But then I realized that my core reason of why am I experiencing all these negative feelings, I don't have a good relationship with my family, which was obvious, but that I have to take on the responsibility to fix it and turn down my ego for a while in order to make our relationship better. This is what Think Before You Sleep talks about. Finding your original reason which brings out addiction, like in these videos, the overly obese people who don't deal with past problems, and in my case, as I used PMO and video games as a way to escape my problems. My relationship with my family is nowhere near as bad as the problems people face on the Think Before You Sleep channel, but as Jordan Peterson said, and I'm not quoting him as I couldn't find the video where he says this, but he says that life requires all of you here, and if there's a part of you that is stuck in the past, then you can't move forwards. Something like that, but it stuck with me. So my original problem was that I had a bad relationship with my family, and as I was thinking of ways to fix it, as always, I was on NoFap, and the streak that I am on now, I believe proves that I am going in the right direction, which brings me to the conclusion of NoFap and addiction. When you stop self-destructing behavior, you start to see clearly the reality of your situation, and that brings out the opportunity to fix the circumstances you are in. If you have no escape, and if you used, let's say, to escape to PMO in the past, but now you are on NoFap, and then the reality of life starts to show, and if that really makes you miserable and you want to constantly use substances to escape, then there is something you need to fix to move forward. It would be easier for me to leave my relationship with my family where it is. It would be easier for me not to take on the responsibility, and it would be easier for me to not self-improve. But where would that lead me? Probably to more suffering than there needs to be. I just wanted to share this with anybody who struggles with their family. Of course, there might be exceptions of when you are in an abusive family, and in that case, I think you need a little bit more than just advice on YouTube, and maybe consider talking to a therapist. Like, I'm not sure what your situation is, but this was more for those who can fix their relationships by just taking responsibility. Again, I'm not perfect, and my family sure is not perfect, but the only way I can make our relationship better is to just bring value and be alone in that decision and that responsibility to do that. So thank you, Think Before You Sleep, thank you, Jordan Peterson, and thank you, the NoFap community, for this responsibility for my life and just pulling me out of this dark place that I was in just 2 years ago. Do you guys have any relationship or past problems that are holding you back from achieving what you want? Maybe share them in the comments down below and we can help each other to overcome them. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe for more weekly self-improvement content. Also, if you want, you can support this channel by donating on Patreon and PayPal, and all the links are gonna be in the description. And also, if you want, you can follow me on Instagram, where I post pretty much daily content in form of my Instagram stories, more on the NoFap side. So if you're interested in that, There's gonna be a link in the description down below as well to follow me on Instagram. Thank you guys for watching this video and stay on your journey.